Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Cryptic Commander. We are your hosts. I'm John Nosey.
This is Onik.
And we are proudly sponsored by North Valley Games, sponsored in part by Artopia, and Legend Rise Gaming, and the Hobby Goblins. We're partnered with Magic the Gathering Players Group, Facebook group, and Cosmic Gaming. This is going to be a very special episode. It's not going to be your normal episode. And we want to honor our guest's time. This man needs no introduction, in all honesty. He really did help pioneer the game, and we're going to get more into that just a bit. So without further ado, Jesper, thank you so much for coming on today's show.
You're welcome. It's Jesper, by the way. I'm Swedish, so the J is pronounced like a Y.
That is so cool.
Jesper, got it.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Jesper, please help me and the listeners understand, man, if you can. I know there's probably not much you can or won't talk about, like anything after Hasbro, right? And just, I want to understand, because I talked to other artists, and just recently I interviewed RK Post and Jeff Lobenstein, and those guys talk about you a lot, right? So I'm trying to piece things together myself too. Are you like one of the main guys, like art directors? Because I know that you were there in the beginning with Richard and stuff.
Yeah, I was the original art director and graphic designer.
Wow. Onik, if you didn't know this, he also created the set The Dark. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. You remember the set The Dark, Onik?
Oh yeah, I remember it.
Yeah, man. This guy's the guy who was large in charge. He's the head honcho, from what I understand.
Was
the head honcho. Well,
many years ago.
I'll tell you what, there's a format called 93, and it's played still to this day. And there's even a face.
I've been to a few of the gatherings where they play that.
Oh, really? I mean, have you ever played Magic yourself with the paper cards? I'm sure you have.
Yeah, I played it a lot up until about 95.
That's right. Going back to our original text a few weeks ago, I remember you saying that. Now, did you play with your own cards too? I'm sure the ones you designed artwork for and stuff.
Well, yeah, I designed the card back, so yeah. All the cards have my work on them. I can't avoid that.
So, were you there when they originally called it Mana Clash?
Yes, I even designed a couple of logos for that name.
Wow, man. There's I now you know how you got to grab people's attention, right? So this is going to be at most an hour-long podcast, and I want to start off with a banger question. Okay, I told you I recently talked to RK Post and Jeff Lobenstein recently. I really consider those guys friends now, and it's really a blessing in this journey. I've been podcasting for 5 years for Magic the Gathering, the very first podcast I ever created, the only podcast I ever created. And let me get back to one of these notes here. I got some notes written down here. I want to start with RK Post. And when I asked RK Post, I said, hey, man, I can't believe it, but I'm actually going to get, Jesper on the podcast. Do you have any banger questions that I can ask him? So he goes, yeah, man, ask him this. Hold on one second. Let me see here. He's written right here. Sing the song they would sing on road trips in the early days of WotC. And I'm actually intrigued on this one.
Oh, man. I'm afraid I don't remember the lyrics to it.
You don't remember any of it?
Not really. It was something about chaining a human head to a wall.
Oh wow. Man. I'll have to ask, like, what is it about then? Or at least how did this come to be?
It was kind of a weird Christmas song about giving human organs as gifts.
Wow.
Dark. It was a dark song, but it was meant to be funny.
Right. Yeah, I get that, because I'm like, hey, you got any banger questions? And he did this, and I'm like, what does he mean? Right? I didn't even ask him that. I'm just thinking that. So, like, in a Christmas tune, do you remember, like, if there was a certain jingle that went along with it?
No, I made up the tune to it. I remember that.
Wow, man.
It wasn't to any existing song.
So you were back, like, in college days when Magic was created?
Yes, though okay. I did go to college a bit later, so I was in my late 20s.
What, 29 or something?
28, 29, somewhere around there.
Something like that, yeah. I just remember I just did some homework on you, buddy.
Sounds like it.
There's a lot of people who look at your old artwork on the cards and just stare at it a long time. I'm guilty. I'm raising my hand right now.
I'm staring at the stuff right now.
Right. with all these years, man, and I know you put your pants on just like I do, one leg at a time. And I know you're so modest. I love you for that.
I'm just a gamer that makes games. That's all it is.
Absolutely. I mean, I commend you though, man, and I put you on a pedestal.
No, don't do that.
I know.
Take him down.
I know. Jeff told me the same thing, and I mean, but you guys, you guys are role models, man. And this game, I'm sure you did. Did you think it was going to go anywhere at first?
Yes, I did. I told them to stop paying me. We weren't being paid because we didn't have any money, but they were keeping track of what the company owed us in salary. And I said, I want all of it in stock. This game is going to change gaming.
Oh, man.
And I knew that because the game was designed for us, as we were all gamers.
Right, for players.
There wasn't any shareholders involved. There was no greed behind it. We wanted to make a fun game for ourselves. And we knew if we liked it, gamers would probably like it as well, because as I said, we are gamers.
There's
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
It was a very uncynical creative process.
There has been a lot of mechanics throughout the years of Magic the Gathering. There was what I remember when I was a kid, man, because I was like 15 when I got into this game, and I feel like I've got silver hair now, and I look back and there used to be like 4 sets a year. And there's a lot of product coming out, and there's a lot of new formats too. This is 30-year anniversary. We're still in this whole big 30-year anniversary thing. And do you have any thoughts and opinions on the way the products are coming out? What kind of products have you been keeping up at all? Or
I have, and I think the game at this point is being made more to benefit Hasbro shareholders than it is the game playing public.
Yeah, I think you're not alone on that thought, just in all honesty. Onik, what do you think?
I mean, I have mixed feelings about the direction of the game and whatnot, but I'm not going to fight against someone who says that, because there are definite indicators that it's going in a direction that's more for corporate than for the players, we'll say.
Jesper,
to give you an example, when we were looking at what paper stock to use, we bought every trading card and playing card we could find, and we stress tested all of those cards to find the one that would last the longest, because we did not want to be accused of programmed obsolescence, like, the cards will deteriorate after a few plays and they'll have to buy more. We really wanted the cards to last forever, or as long as possible.
That's a testament, man.
Right, and if we were concerned about the money, we probably wouldn't have cared about that.
Yeah, you can't. You wouldn't want to cut corners on something like that. Probably ink quality too, and all that.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you make a good product and sell it at a reasonable price, you'll do well. You don't need to do dirty tricks. You just don't.
That's a testament to the passion that they had back then for this. I mean, I'm telling you, man, it's just amazing to hear from you, Jesper, that you knew it was going to go somewhere, right?
Oh, we all did.
Wow, you all did.
Yes.
Okay. Now,
we were working for no pay. I mean,
yeah,
we were doing it out of the passion for the project.
No, absolutely, man. There's been a lot of cards that have gained a lot of value over the years. In particular, I'm sure you know that the dual lands, right? They're big money and stuff.
Yep.
A lot of artwork you did a lot of dual lands too, right?
4 of them.
Yeah, 4 out of the 10.
I thought it was 3 or 4. And you did an interview recently. I'm not sure how recent, but with one of my friends, Albert Markov, and you had stated on there that, hold on, what'd you say on that one? Hold on, I should have wrote it down, right? That so back in the day, you're with Richard. Did you knew about the test cards, right? The black and white test cards.
Yeah.
And
they weren't black and white. They were black and blue and black and brown, I think.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Some of them black and light gray. I don't know if any were actually printed on white. Maybe they were, but.
Okay. There's a question I have, right? Did you know about the power of the dual lands back then?
No, we didn't know about the power of any of them.
Okay. Okay, that's fair because you probably thought it was really well balanced. I'm sure.
Well, we were all still learning the game. Back then, if you were to ask, say, 7 different WotC employees how to play the game, you would learn 7 different versions of the game. It was a little fluid.
That's very interesting. Actually, to hear that. You know,
I remember people playing Iron Man, where back when we had Anti, and that version, people would destroy the loser's card would be destroyed, and I saw Black Lotuses ripped in half. It didn't really register to anyone what those would be worth.
So
because again, that was never the point of the game. We were not trying to create a collectible. We were trying to create a game.
Right. No, absolutely, man. And that's the way I treat it as. I know somewhere in one of these interviews you've done that you said the same thing, right? But I'm in that category, man. If it's an expensive card, I'm really looking at the power level of the card. I'm not going to put it in a binder or a safe, I treat it as a game. I've been playing it for 30 years. That's just the way I treat it, throughout the years, man, they've added a lot of things like planeswalkers and such,
Yeah, I was never a fan of that.
I hear you, man, especially from one of the creators, right, Onik?
Yeah.
Well, the reason is, I think adding those turned Magic the Gathering, to use PC terms, not politically correct, I mean, computer terms, they turned it from a first-person game into a third-person game. Originally, you were the wizard. You were the focus.
Yeah.
It was more role-playing, right? You and another wizard were dueling.
Right.
Then they made it about these ancillary characters. Yeah. And the only reason they did it, I remember because I was there, was they wanted to be able to have books and movies and TV shows. It was never done in furtherance of making the game better. It was done in furtherance of increasing the value of the property.
That blew my mind, bro.
And that never sat well with me, because it was a disservice to the game.
No, absolutely. I mean, I thought it was there because there's other games around, there's competition, and you also want to keep the game fresh. That's what my understanding was.
No.
Wow. I am totally wrong.
It was just so they could develop it as an intellectual property.
Whoa. You're actually blowing my mind here, brother. You're blowing my mind.
And that was all pre-Hasbro.
Of course. Wow. And I remember, what was it, 2007 when Planewalkers came out, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you probably knew about it years before they actually came out.
No, they never planned that far in advance.
Really? So they do now, though, right?
I'm sure they do, but I don't know. I quit shortly after Hasbro acquired us, so I don't really know about the inner workings.
Gotcha. I'm going to pull up a few more questions, but Onik, do you have any questions for Jesper?
No, I was just thinking about the last point of how initially, I mean, as you said, we were like the wizards and sorcerers who were summoning these creatures and casting these spells and whatnot. And I know at some point, I guess, quote unquote, we were upgraded to being planeswalkers and kind of and assisting in casting these things. And then I guess at some point later on, we just weren't really. We as players weren't really a part of the game itself. We were just, I don't know how to describe it, but they kind of took the human element, the player element, out of the game itself, and we were just playing the game as opposed to being a part of it.
Right. It went from first to third person.
Yeah.
You were watching another character do the things rather than doing them.
Yeah.
Now, I remember too. One thing I was going to bring up a second ago was when you talked to Alper Markov, you explained that you've actually done more recent artwork. And I saw the pictures that you were kind enough to share with him for his viewers and such. I'm a fan of Alper, so I watch his content, right? And there was a lot of artwork that you've done recently. I'm not sure within the last year or so, I'm sure.
I paint every day.
Wow. Not only are you a gamer, but you're a painter. You're an artist.
Yeah, that's how I make my living.
Got it. Still to this day. That's amazing, man.
Well, I got my degree in it. I figure I might as well put it to use.
That's probably on your Wikipedia, right? I should have introduced him by his Wikipedia page if he has one. I'm sure he has one.
I think everyone has one, but yeah.
I don't have one, but I don't need one though.
I'll make you one.
No, you don't need to make me one. Stop it. Stop it. Now, the old border cards, that sometimes is a topic. I'm a fan of the old school 93 cards. You got your white borders and white borders and black borders used to mean a different thing, and nowadays people, ew, white borders, ew. And it's like, are you for real? Look at this maze of Ith right here.
That's me.
Right. So, I mean, do you have a preference when it comes to the, what is it called? The frame. Do you have a preference?
I prefer the black. I think it sets off the design and the artwork better.
That's what most players agree on. There's been many polls taken, and a lot of players like the black border. Now, you've seen the modern frame, I'm sure, where it's more bubbly. Do you like the direction they're going with that?
They did a good job. I mean, they had to do it because, well, Germany, really. The German language, I think, adds 15% to the amount of text on a given card, and there just wasn't enough room on the old borders to support it. So they had to make the text windows bigger.
Okay. There's a question from one of our listeners.
But yeah, I do think that the new designs look good.
There's a question from one of our listeners. Bear with me. I'm going to read verbatim what she wrote. This comes from Christina Ryan, all the way out in Collinsville, Illinois. She asks, does he have plans to illustrate more cards for Wizards of the Coast? And how does he find inspiration for his creations when it comes to doing these type of projects? I know it's a two-parter.
Yeah, well, for the first part, that would really be up to Wizards of the Coast. And they haven't approached me, so I don't know. I'd be willing to do it, but there's no plans. And as for inspiration, I've grown up on fantasy. My parents were both really into it. They introduced me to things like The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, Moomin Trolls, John Bauer, Elsa Beskov. And then as I got older, I got into other stuff, H.P. Lovecraft, Robert E. Howard, a lot of the classics and pulp stuff. So I would say that late 19th century and early 20th century children's book illustrators and early 20th century pulp writers probably had the biggest influences on me.
Yeah, you actually hold that near and dear to your heart. I can tell. There's I can't remember what interview it was, but someone asked you, did you do anything like above and beyond with any of the old money, whatever? And I think you'd said you'd bought some actual relics, I'm not sure if you want to talk about that or not, but this is what I heard somewhere. And
I did. I like to have artifacts from creators I admire. So I have several postcards and letters from H.P. Lovecraft and a handwritten poem. And when I say I admire him, I want to be clear that I admire his work. I in no way admire his racism, and I won't defend it.
Right.
It's just his work that I like. I have I have a lot of mementos from the beat writers, Kerouac, Ginsberg, people like that. I bought paintings by artists I admire, Stephen Hickman, the brothers Hildebrandt. Probably too many to name. I'm sitting here looking. There's some RK Post work up here. A lot of Ian Miller's work. He's one of my favorites.
Wow, man, that's pretty cool. I
also have some weird stuff, like a postcard from H.G. Wells, some documents from the Duke of Wellington, an invitation signed by Queen Victoria.
Whoa!
So lots of weird little stuff like that.
Oh
wow, man! I don't even know how one would acquire anything like that. I'm here. I'm trying to get Nintendo games from the '80s and just build that whole North American collection. I'm finding that hard, right?
Yeah.
Wow, man. And here you got some real relics, buddy. Wow.
Well, you got it. The market for that stuff isn't very large.
Okay.
Whereas, Nintendo is a household name.
Yeah. And I grew up playing that stuff. I'm a gamer myself, if you haven't noticed, right? And I think a lot of people are competitive, but when I grew up as a child, there was something about that Nintendo, I knew it saved the American industry as far as, I know we're getting off track, but it saved the American industry as far as the video game crash of 83 or 82. And we got one game for Christmas and one game for our birthday. So we grew up kind of like that. We would borrow a game from somebody or trade with somebody, but there wasn't a lot of I mean, I didn't know there was that many video games out there. I just knew there was a lot of games that you liked. You know, there was the Ninja Turtles and Double Dragon. I mean, there's no way your mom and dad were going to buy all that for you. You know,
it's funny. I missed all of the Nintendo stuff. I got a Super Nintendo way late in the game, and I had the Nintendo 64. I first got into video games with the Atari. Actually, I got into it in like 74 with Pong, the black and white TV set thing. My best friend at the time had it, and then I ended up getting an Atari 2600, and then later an Atari computer.
Yeah, I started off with the Odyssey Magnavox. That was
a friend of mine had that. I remember it.
Yeah, it doesn't even hook up to any modern day televisions whatsoever. You know, there's no way you can buy a converter for it. But mine ended up falling apart, man. And I just got rid of it to somebody for like $5. You know, but I held on to it all these years. I was like, I'm a video game collector. I don't know why I was trying to be like that, Onik. You know.
Yeah, I still have all my systems and all the games for them. I was big into 3DO when it came out.
Wow. You and like 12 other people, right?
Yeah, it was a good system, though. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot of
reviews. It wasn't very powerful, but it had some good stuff on it.
Yeah, I remember there was no way anybody in my family could ever get anything like that.
I still have my Atari Jaguar and all the games for that.
Wow. Dude, I was like in kindergarten when that guy came out. I'm just saying. Oh, the Atari Jaguar.
But I used to try and keep up on all the consoles, but I stopped buying consoles after I realized I'd only used my PlayStation 3 for maybe 30 hours total.
Wow. See,
that's not a good return on investment, so I didn't buy anymore.
That reminds me of my eldest brother, Daniel. He sold all of his video game consoles one year. I think it was in 2012. He goes, I'm done with video game consoles. I'm sticking to, I don't know the name of the game, 7 Ways to Die. I don't know the name. I really don't know the name of the game, okay? And that's all he plays on his
7 Days to Die?
Yeah, I think that's the name of it.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic game. Daniel Jellin and I, we play it every Monday night with a group of friends.
So apparently, we've had
for about 8-9 years now.
Holy cow! So this makes sense. Then it probably was in 2012. My brother, I kid you not, Onik, he goes, John, you want this Nintendo 64 with all these games? I'm like, yes. I mean, he had Majora's Mask. He had a bunch of bangers, dude. And I'm like, what are you doing, Daniel? He's like, I'm done with all video game consoles. I'm just on PC strictly. I'm like, whoa. To this day, he's still the same way, man. I think
it makes a lot of sense. A PC is a game-worthy PC is rather a big investment, right? It's probably going to cost 4, maybe 6 times the cost of a console.
Right.
But once you get it, the games are almost free. Yeah. PC games go on sale for ridiculously low prices. You can get 2 or 3 free games a week from Epic.
Yeah.
Humble Bundle is basically giving you can pay $120 and get 10 free games a month, and they're not bad games either. So what you would have spent buying console games, you just put that into the PC, and I think it all evens out.
By the way, Onik, if you didn't catch it, he just put all my secrets out there on blast, okay? If you don't know, Onik, Epic Games, man, they got like free games almost every other week or something.
Every week, every Friday.
I see promotions like occasionally. I know it's more frequently. They do it a lot, but I'm not big on PC gaming in general.
Oh,
but
awesome.
I know there's like times where it's like heavily discounted or like 80% off or something, or other times it's just a free download for a short period of time. Yeah, and I know they cycle those a lot. So yeah, it's just. What the investment itself is a computer, is a PC, and then after that, it's just you have close to unlimited games.
Then you said the Hubble Bundle, dude, and I'm like, he even put that one out there. He put all my secrets out there, man.
Oh, and Fanatical, that's another website that you can get bundles on.
I didn't know about that one.
There you go. Yeah, you think secrets you don't even know about.
Yeah, Jesper knows it all, man. I'm telling you. I got another banger question. I'm just trying to hold on to it. And
I would like to say one more thing about consoles.
Yeah,
playing first-person shooters with a console controller is idiotic. I know there's people out there who are good at it, but I'd rather put that time into learning a real skill. Mouse and keyboard is the way you play first-person games.
Yeah, I think you talked about it a long time ago with somebody else about Doom, right? And there was There was not really too many games that were graphically like that. And
well, original Doom worked with a controller because there was no vertical access.
Okay.
Right, it was all horizontal.
Okay.
Yeah, true.
But as soon as they started adding a vertical, I just controllers were. I felt handicapped.
Like Halo, when Halo came out, that was totally wicked. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. A 9-year-old over here is beating me up every second. You know?
Yeah, I just got frustrated with it because of the controls. Controllers are great for racing games and side scrollers. Aside from that, I don't have much use for them.
Platform gaming or whatever. Yeah, I think the PC is the way to go. I grew up holding the WASD buttons, and I got that Tony Hawk crimp in my fingers from it. You know, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about.
WASD, yeah.
So Chris Rush, who did the Black Lotus, and I used to sit in Chris's basement looking at the Shadowrun books, just in awe of how awesome an artist Jeff Laubenstein was. It was a real honor to be able to work with him.
So you and Chris blushed over his artwork?
Oh, yeah. We were big fanboys over a lot of. Liz Danforth was another one that I got to work with. I was very happy with. Keith Parkinson, I finally got to work with.
I like Dan's work. I like Dan's work a lot. Jeff, man, I actually really, really enjoyed hanging out with him for the.
He's a very nice guy.
Like the 3 days I was with him, I didn't imagine him to be so short. You know? I'm serious, Odeek. I'm like, oh, you're shorter than I thought. I put you on a pedestal. You know, I'm like, okay, you know, we're gonna do this. That's great, man. Thanks. And
did you need to put him on a pedestal to even the height difference?
No, I didn't.
That was a bad joke.
I'll tell you what I did do with Jeff, and it was the first time ever in history. He's never done a pack battle before. So I actually.
Oh yeah, I remember you told me about that. Yeah, was that here in LA or was that?
That was there. That was right there in your hometown, LA.
Yeah. Okay.
I won that pack battle, by the way. But
I'm not sure I know what a pack battle is.
It's really cute. You just get you buy a pack. I buy a pack. We make the rules up on the fly. Like whoever gets the highest converted red mana card, you know, wins. Or we count up all the converted mana costs together, and whoever has the most wins. Or you do a war scenario. Well, I flip down 2, flip up 1. What's the converted mana cost? A tie. Oh, let's do it again. You know, you make the rules up on the fly.
There's like different metrics you can use to determine the winner or loser.
Correct. I want to say that I talked to Jeff Laubenstein recently, and when I asked him what to ask you, there's actually a couple things he said. Hey, you can ask him this, you can ask him that, you can ask him this. But the first thing I want to bring up is something Jeff Laubenstein talks about a lot, and he brings you up a lot, Jesper, when he gets interviewed. And I noticed that I wasn't the only person interviewing him when I got to spend like 3 whole days with him, right? And I invited him to my suite at the Los Angeles Hilton. They messed up our room like 3 times. And by the 4th time, they ended up giving me and my friend a suite. And we're like, Jeff, we got a suite. It's on the top floor. He's like, oh, cool. And he came up, he had dinner with us, man. And we all went outside and we're just enjoying the fresh air in California. And one of my friends, which introduced me to Jeff Lavenstein, was like, hey, Jeff's over there meeting strangers, and he's crouched down on his knees, meeting strangers, He goes, go get Jeff a seat. So I ran, man, because I put you on a pedestal. I put him on a pedestal. I ran as fast as my little legs can carry. I picked up a seat. I kind of hopped, back to him, and I kind of nudged him like, Jeff, here. Oh, thanks, John. And he got up and sat down like just nobody's business. And I'm like, I just did a solid for Jeff Lavenstein.
Yeah, he is a legend.
He is, man. He's great too. Onique, I hope one day you get to meet him, dude, in person, because he's a blast to hang out with. He
was at Magic 30 in October, and he had his Magic booth set up with his cards, with show and tell and whatnot.
Yeah,
and I made it a point to explicitly thank him for being on the podcast, because he's like, oh yeah, I remember, oh yeah. So I thanked him, and I was just cool to like just walk up and say, hey, dude, thanks for being a part of Magic.
So you actually met him?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it was a real quick exchange. It was like a 15, 20-second thing.
But yeah, he keeps mentioning Jesper. Like there was a bunch of people that are interviewing him before I even ever interviewed him, right? And I was just blown away by like the spotlight was really on Jeff the whole weekend, And he kept bringing Jesper up. And one of the things he kept bringing up was, and the way he wrote it here for me to say verbatim, right, is totally different than what I've heard, because I've got to be with Jeff for 3 days. He always mentions that Jesper wants people to be able to know the artwork from 6 feet away. Okay. But this is what he wrote down verbatim. There's a story about the whole wide variety of art and styles, and the intention being to know each card at a glance. Are you able to elaborate on that, Jesper?
Yeah. So going into it and working on the graphic design for the game, I realized that we didn't have a lot of real estate for the images. So I wanted the majority of the images, not all of them, but the majority of them, to be easily identifiable by a person walking by a table where a game is being played. So it didn't just look like a mess of mud and color. You could look down and see, oh, I know what that is a representation of. I thought it would not only make the game easier to play, but it could attract new people to the game. They'd walk by, see something, maybe ask a question. One thing, I don't know if they're still doing this, but Wizards went through a phase where they were trying to pack movie posters into the size of a Magic art box, and you can't do it. It kills the feel of the game, in my opinion. It makes everything kind of just blend together into a muddle. And obviously some of this is down to personal opinion. There are going to be people who disagree with me, but that's my feelings on it.
I mean, there are art pieces today that tell, they have story spotlight cards that really depict a major event or even a minor event, but an important event in a art of a card. And there are some that have just so much going on in one part that, like, if you look at the piece of art itself, it's beautiful, but in the card, it's just so much going on to where you'll appreciate the art piece, but you won't really like see the details in it.
Yeah, it undermines what the card is supposed to do. It undermines the ability of the card to communicate its purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever imagine the longevity of Magic the Gathering? Do you think it's going to be around forever? I mean, in the beginning, did you think it's going to be around for 30, 40 years?
That's an interesting question. I don't know if I ever thought about it long term. I knew it would be akin to Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought it would be a mainstay game going forward. But I never really thought about it in the term of how many decades that would be.
Right. You know,
I thought the longevity would increase or decrease once Hasbro came around?
You know, I didn't have an opinion on it back then because, I mean, Hasbro's a game company. They should know what they're doing.
Right.
Magic is theirs to lose, put it that way.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, that makes a lot of
sense.
If
it fails, it will be their fault.
It's a good way of putting it because, you know, you can tell a young kid, you know, you can't fail. Me and your mom can fail, you know, because we're still providing, but you got nobody to provide for. you can't fail. You know, so for you to say that though, that's like, wow. I mean, that's pretty deep. You know.
Well, see, the thing, if it failed on my watch, it would have been because of something, or our watch, it would have been because of something we did. The game itself is very, very sound. You cannot scapegoat the game's failure. If it fails, it's on the heads of those people who had the game in their hands to do with what they wanted. And it's really up to them to make sure if the game lasts or not.
Now, Chris Rush was your close friend, correct?
Yes.
Okay. See, I didn't even know that, Onik. I did not even know that, man. The Black Lotus is talked about a lot, man. I think there was the post where Post Malone bought one for $810,000, and every family member wanted to give me the link to it and goes, "Do you know about this?" I'm like, "Yeah, you're like the millionth person that told me," you know. And then somebody finds a book of cards and goes on Antiques Roadshow, and
that's weird.
Yeah, that gets.
I watch Antique Roadshow, and to see Magic stuff on there, you know, that's something that I didn't expect. Magic pops up in the strangest places. I was watching like Forensic Files the other day, and Magic was in it.
You're kidding me.
That's wild.
It pops up in like a lot of YouTube. I've heard right-wing political pundits mention it in interviews. It's really strange.
Yeah. You know,
that it's become a cultural phenomenon, because I knew it within hobby gaming, it would be relevant. I did not think it could make it to the mass market, and it did.
There was a cartoon called South Park that became really famous.
I watched it. In fact, we watched it at Wizards when it first started.
Yeah, it came out around the same time Magic became a thing, and they had an episode where they were singing about Magic the Gathering. Also, there even was a puppet sing-along for Magic the Gathering about some puppet that was trying to win championships or something.
Oh yeah, and Rift Tracks, the spiritual successor to Mystery Science 3000, they've made quite a few jokes at Magic's expense.
It really is crazy. It's becoming more mainstream. You know, it used to be like an underground thing. That's my opinion. Just like you said earlier, your opinions may differ, right?
Right.
And in my opinion, it was an underground thing. Here I was, a kid in St. Louis, Missouri. I carried around this starter box that I bought like maybe 2 boosters or something. And, you know, I was playing Iron Man. That's how back I go. You know, I wasn't playing with Alpha. I've admitted to my listeners before. I probably was playing with Alpha and not even knowing it, but I remember Beta, you know, and they were different cards. They were different shaped on the edges and a little bit smaller, you know, but it was always the same Magic back. Going back to Ice Age, whose idea was it to, you know, keep the Magic back the same? And what was it? It was white. It was white, right? Whose idea was that?
The Magic back. It was a group decision.
Okay.
I will say this. Another thing that blew me away was I watched Ron Howard since the Andy Griffith Show and then Happy Days, and to see the ATOG end up in a movie he directed was just bizarre.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Hillbilly Elegy, that movie about that right-wing political guy. Ron Howard made a movie of his book, and in it, he says, "This is an ATOG," and holds out the Magic card.
Whoa. Whoa. Who drew the original ATOG? Was it
It was me.
It was you? Whoa.
Yep.
Wow.
Giant grinning face.
That's a part of the history, just like Philip, if I'm saying his name right.
Fibblefip?
Yeah. However you say his name. I want to say something else too. Which of your cards are your favorites? And it's another part of this too. And what are some cards that you commissioned that you still like?
Is it
that I commissioned? I would say almost all of them.
Okay.
Of my own, I don't care for that many of them because I've grown a lot since then as an artist. But Elves of Deep Shadow, I think, holds up well from the dark.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably my favorite. I remember I read an article once where I was voted the worst Magic artist ever, but I had the best Magic art ever, which was Elves of Deep Shadow, and I thought, I could live with that.
Not best of both worlds, but a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
That was a long time ago. That was still back in the 90s, I believe, when I read that. So, I mean, there's been a lot of work since then.
Arabian Nights, I believe, had like a purple back to it, right?
Yeah, if you look at the booster box, that's what the back was going to be. The idea was that you could tell what school of Magic you were going against how that wizard would look. But then we realized that could lead to all kinds of cheating. So
yeah, no, absolutely. Am I wrong by thinking that Ice Age? I think the box was white, right? And you took the cards out, and they were
light
still
blue.
brown. Oh, the light blue. Okay, I thought it was
so
white.
Ice Age was the second set that we started working on, but then we put it on hold because we wanted to do a smaller release. So I was only involved in a portion of Ice Age's development.
There was so many questions when it came out to local game stores near me. Because you got to remember, in Missouri, again, I'll go back to what I said earlier. It was an underground thing. There was not very many people in my area at that time, in 93, 94, playing Magic the Gathering. There was just a handful of people that I knew, and they were spread out throughout Missouri. So, I mean, to me, it was just an underground thing when it first came out. And now it's everywhere. It really is. Like you said, it's in pop culture now.
Yeah, I've seen Southern Baptist preachers talking about how it's satanic on YouTube.
Oh yeah,
and that always makes me chuckle. The example they use is how the mana symbols on the back of the card are in a circle, and if you trace the lines, it makes a pentagram.
I remember that.
That didn't even occur to me until that guy pointed it out. The reason they're in a circle like that is to show how they oppose each other and which ones are tertiary to each other. It's more of a player aid than anything else. Yeah. But when I found out it makes a pentagram, I thought, hey, that's pretty cool. I wish I'd done that deliberately.
Yeah, I think I thought the same thing when I was young. I took one back, and I know defacing a card. I hope you don't get mad at me. But I was like, okay, this card, because I was like learning, right? And there was no internet. Well, there was internet, but it was just starting or something. And I'm like, okay, so this color goes good with this color. This color goes good with this color. By the time I got done with my diagram, it really did look like a pentagram. It really did.
And for the record, not a single person involved with the game was into the occult or a practitioner of the occult. It was all just fantasy to us.
Oh,
if you hear anybody saying that we deliberately did whatever to lead people to the devil, they're just talking for donations at that point. They're lying. They don't know. And it certainly wasn't done. It's a fantasy game.
They did the same thing with Dungeons and Dragons.
They did. I had friends I couldn't play with because I played Dungeons and Dragons, and their parents thought it was devil worship.
Yeah, just getting a little bit deeper. But it's under the same umbrella. Magic the Gathering, Wizards of the Coast got a hold of Dungeons and Dragons. I think they really saved the game as a whole. TSR, when I was young, my mom and dad said they wish they would have put stock in TSR. And go ahead.
Sorry. I mentioned this earlier. The people who founded Wizards of the Coast were gamers first and foremost. Peter Atkinson, the CEO, he lived for Dungeons and Dragons. A lot of Magic cards are named after the things in his Dungeons and Dragons campaign. So when Wizards had an opportunity to buy it, Peter focused his entire effort on that. And it was done for love of the game, which is why the open license was put in place in the first place, because we wanted people to be able to make stuff and support the game because it increases the longevity of the game. Mm-hmm. We didn't do anything like that out of greed. Because again, if we did something people liked, the money would follow. There's no need for dirty tricks. There's no need for pinching pennies, right? We weren't trying to please our shareholders, which we had. We were trying to please our customers, which we knew would end up pleasing the shareholders because we'd make products they want. I think a lot of companies have lost sight of that these days.
Oh, yeah, man. Profits over happiness, right?
And the thing is, we've established I love computer games. I will not buy or even play games by Activision Blizzard or Electronic Arts because as a customer, I feel they view me as a resource they can harvest at their leisure when they want more money. I feel like a cow. I don't feel like they're making games for me. I think they're making games to benefit shareholders, and then they're trying to sucker me into buying it, and I'm done with it. So I just stopped supporting those companies 100%.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that, man. Absolutely.
Because, only a sucker would buy their games at this point. They've shown nothing but contempt for the audience. They don't deserve business. And we at Wizards were not like that.
Are you aware of the different formats there are for Magic the Gathering now?
A few of them. Like I said, I don't really keep up on the game. I don't play it anymore.
Sure.
But a lot of my friends are Magic artists and artists in general. And I do check out some of the artwork. People post it online and I see it. And I'm always impressed.
Do you remember the old? This might come to your mind. I don't know. Extended, the format called Extended.
No.
Okay. Type 2, Type 1. No, not like that.
Those ring a bell.
Those ring a bell. Yeah. So
I think Extended was like Type 1.x or something.
So I'll just explain it to him real quick. So the Type 1 we call now is standard, and then Type 2 would be modern.
That's
and
flipped.
We used to call it Extended. But regardless of all that, there's a lot of formats, and one of the big ones now is called Commander.
And, yes, I'm aware of that format. I think it's really cool.
Okay. And there's now, this might be a hot topic. You can elect not to answer this question if you want. Okay. I just want to bring it up in your presence. We've asked many people this. I think even Onique's jumped in there, and a previous co-host named Peddler has jumped in there on this topic too. They came out with a card called the Jeweled Lotus. Okay. It was for Commander only. And when it came out, it really was a very hot topic when this card came out. And it almost put a divide in the Magic community. Okay. But people had to remind people a lot that this card's only for the Commander format. It's not for all the formats in Magic the Gathering. Matter of fact, it's only legal in one format, which is a casual format. I mean, we're all human. We're very competitive people, especially us guys, right? We're competitive. And do you have any thoughts on them making like a Jeweled Lotus for Commander only, or if they ever make a Mox for the Commander only? Do you have any opinion on that or no?
From a gamer point of view, I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I think it's, that they support that format and that people who play it get something.
Absolutely, man.
I don't see a downside to it.
Absolutely. Do you have an opinion on where you see Magic the Gathering in 10, 20 years?
I wouldn't place a bet on it one way or the other. I really worry that corporate greed will do to Magic what Activision Blizzard and EA did to their properties. I mean, EA releases broken games, then they won't fix them, then they kill them, and they won't give refunds. And it's all done to please shareholders. I think it's early enough that if Wizards were to change course, they could fix it. But, given how the 30th anniversary went, that was a bad sign.
There's
a bad sign.
Twitter. So Magic the Gathering on Twitter is a whole completely different world than, like, let's say the communities of Magic the Gathering on Facebook. But when I go look on Twitter, there's a lot of old time people that were in research development, people that worked for Wizard of the Coast back in the early days, and their fans and their friends are, begging these people, can you please get back hired and save this game? I'm just telling you what's out there, right? It's not my personal opinion or anything, but I think it would be really cool if some of the people from the past that helped put this game into fruition would come back and work on it in one way, shape, or form.
That's all in Hasbro's hands.
I know, right? I know.
And as I said, I'm not going to predict doom and gloom, and I'm not going to predict success. I don't know enough about the situation, but I do feel the ground is getting very shaky.
Okay. And that's a fair assessment, man. I really appreciate your opinion on that.
And I think it's within Hasbro's purview to turn that around. I mean, the game isn't dead. It's just damaged. Yeah. And I think they can fix it if they want to. But one of the issues with the Hasbro acquisition, I think, is Magic the Gathering was a hobby game like Dungeons and Dragons. It's almost a lifestyle style of game. It's not a casual Monopoly style game. And I realize there's probably professional Monopoly players out there who would be upset with what I'm saying, but you know what I mean? It's not just a game like the family breaks out on Family Game Night. People get really into this thing, and it's a community. People know each other. And I think one of the mistakes Hasbro has made is that they are treating it like any other corporate property, and they don't understand the history behind it. They don't understand what it actually means to people. I think they just see it as a revenue source. And if they continue down that road, I do not see good things for the game. They have to acknowledge and respect its community, because that is what makes the game.
I can't remember what set it was, maybe 8th edition. They came out with foil cards. Were you there at the start of that?
No, but I thought it was gimmicky.
Yeah. So along those lines, nowadays, we've got oil slick foil, neon foil. We've got the new one they got called double rainbow foil.
Yeah,
they got etched foil.
I've been against those from the first time I heard. I think it cheapens the artwork and cheapens the game.
Yeah, they've got extended art, full art. I mean, the list goes on, man. So
I should also say it's not a hill I'm going to die on, though. That's just my opinion. It's not a strong opinion. It's just an opinion.
Well, you know what? I appreciate you because, I mean, I probably said it a lot, man. I'm going to keep saying it forever. You know, we really appreciate you coming on today's show. You answered a lot of questions. You've answered some viewer questions or listener questions. And you've answered some really good banger questions as far as RK Post and Jeff Lavestein giving me some ammo. You can't remember any more of that song, huh?
No, but I think I have it written down somewhere. If I find it, I'll forward it to you.
You really will? Oh, man. Oh, goodness gracious. The fans are going to love to hear that, man, or even read it. You know, that's amazing, dude. I really appreciate you. Nick, do you have any last questions or comments before we let the listeners go?
No, I suppose I wasn't quite prepared because I'm more of like today's Magic, I suppose. Of course, I mean, I played since like 97. Sure. So, I mean, I've been playing for a while, but I was a bit underprepared, I'll say, which is why I've been quiet for most of the episodes. So I apologize for just kind of being a fly on the wall, but this just was also amazing and to listen to. So I greatly appreciate what you've done for the game.
Oh, thank you.
And yeah, it's just great to be here.
Jesper, is there anything you'd like to say to the listeners before we let the listeners go?
There is. As I pointed out, the Magic community really is a community, and I've met a lot of really fantastic people going to the events, and I wanted to thank the players for giving me the opportunity to do what I do. And I know I'm not the only one of the creators of the game or the artists who feels that way. We really are in the debt of the community. And I just thank you so much.
You got it, buddy. All right, everybody. Well, that's going to do it for this week's episode. And again, Jesper, I cannot thank you enough. I know I sound like a broken record. And, you know, it really means a lot, man. I know you put your pants on one leg at a time, just like everybody else. And, you know, it's just, you know, like you thanked the players a second ago, right? And I'm a player at heart. And, you know, content creation probably comes second, in all honesty, because I love it's a different thing. Like if you're a dungeon master in a game or if you're a player, right? Yeah, sure, you can control the characters or the monsters or the NPCs, but sometimes you want to play the game and not be the dungeon master. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I was the dungeon master.
So you get what I'm saying, right? You know,
yep.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just like, you know, not the same analogy, but like you pick teams playing football and you're the last pick, and it's like, well, the teams are even. You can be the referee. You know, it's like, oh, I want to play. You know, but yeah, I'm a player at heart, man. So I do put you on a pedestal, in all honesty, and just to be in front of your presence on the podcast just means so much to me, man. And
well, I appreciate that, but don't put me on a pedestal.
And that's what Jeff keeps telling me too. You know, that's what Jeff keeps telling me too. I'd get you a chair if you were on the ground trying to meet strangers. I'd get you a chair. Yes,
I appreciate it. I don't think I'm that flexible anymore, but
I'm getting to that point. I hate to admit it, but all right, listeners. You know, we're going to include show notes for today's show. We're going to give links for your content. I'm sure you're still doing commissions, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'll ask you on where I'm talking to you right now, and however I'm talking to you and communicating you outside in the real world. I'm sure we'll just share information back and forth there. No big deal on anybody's time because, hey, you know that's life's about what you make of it. You know what I'm saying? And you talked earlier about family, and family comes first, and you know I think our video games come second. So, you know, there's no rush on anything, man. You know, and whatever you can share later, if you find that song, I know the listeners are going to appreciate it. I'm trying to get a kick out of it right now. You know, I just trying to imagine myself on a bus singing along with you. You know? And
yeah, it was a long drive.
And to know you came up with it too. I wonder see if Arcade remembers any of the lyrics. But all right, guys. All right, well, that'll do it again. Until next time, keep spell slinging.